All right, so I was asked to do that quickly because we all know it's actually lunchtime and I'm hungry too. So I'm going to be as fast as I can so that you can get to your lunch soonish, or we do have enough time for questions. So exactly, my name is Tina Klüwer. I'm from the Federal Ministry of actually Research, Technology and Space, but that is very fresh, so that change in the name and also in the responsibility was done last week. So I'm still also kind of getting used to this new name. I want to talk a little bit today about invention and innovation in Germany. There was a similar talk last time, but now we want to dig a little bit deeper in what comes next. So as you may know, many of you may know, there are several worldwide known innovations that were actually done in Germany. So for example, aspirin, cars, printing press, MP3. There are many examples that are very well known, and there are some examples that are not so well known, but still are German inventions, like the coffee filter. The first telephone that was built by a physicist, a German physicist, didn't work so well, but there was the first idea there. And Barbie, for example, as well. Maybe some of you have heard about that in during the Barbie movie that came out lately, because actually that originally was a doll that was invented by the Bild newspaper based on a comic that they had. And that was the Bild Lily that you can see in that picture down there. So, and Ruth Handel actually saw that on a business trip to Europe and was inspired, and then she built the Barbie out of that. So, interesting facts, and many people know about it. So, this is also why there is some certain interest in these German creative genius, which is often caused. So, there are books about the German genius, even from outside of Germany. So, it's not only self-reflecting, yeah? So we are the genius creatives, but also from outside of Germany. And I think Germans are often perceived as poetics and thinkers, but also engineers. But what I would like to look a bit better, deeper now, is how is the situation today? Because many of the examples that I just brought are not from just yesterday, yeah? So they have been here for decades. And how's the situation now, and how is it in artificial intelligence? If we check on research, which we can see is basically the starting point of new innovation. So what can we see is that Germany, as the third largest economy in the world, is also the third country in the world leading in research publications. So we do have the US on rank first, and then China, and there's a big difference also from year to year, because China invests more and more in research and publishes a lot of articles in artificial intelligence. But still Germany, of course, smaller numbers, but rank 3. If we go further and say, okay, what comes out of those publications? How is the situation about patents? Then we can see that Germany is on rank 6 worldwide, which is still in the upper top 10, which is clear, but you can definitely see that there's a difference between rank 3 and rank 6. And if you go further down, I would say the innovation process pipeline, and look at the German AI startups, then you can see that in the number of startups that we do have in artificial intelligence, we are ranked 9 worldwide. And one last number, if you check the AI adoption rate in enterprises, we are ranked 12. So a lot of countries that we haven't seen so in the top 10 or in the earlier positions in the publication rank more and more higher than us. And one last statistics that I found really interesting is this is the analysis of the most used AI websites by monthly visits with numbers from January this year. And as you can see, ChatGPT is the web tool, AI web tool that was used as the most but there are other interesting things. I didn't know about Canva. I was really surprised that Canva is actually the second AI tool mostly used. But then if you check, so the first German one that we have that comes here is rank 13 with DeepL. So thanks a lot, guys, for doing that. So as you can see, there's a certain degree of ranks regarding Germany. So we're very high in the rankings of publication and research, and the more it gets into application, the more it gets into commercialization, we rank lower and lower. And that is well known as the European paradox, which is also the German paradox. So I would say we are one of the countries that really incorporates that paradox. We're very good at inventions, but we are not that strong at innovation. So if you check for the full innovation, then we can see that Germany somewhere in the middle starts to derank and isn't as active as before. And the problem is that innovation is not invention. So if we check the technology readiness level, which basically give an idea about how long an innovation pipeline goes, what the process includes for a technology, so that we can see we have the technological readiness level 1 to 3, which is basic research, where we can define a principle, have a concept, and have a first proof of concept. And then we have the development part from readiness level 4 to 6 with the lab validation and other validations in the real environment. And then finally we have the stage of deployment from level 7 to level 9, where it becomes more and more market oriented, including the final commercialization of that. And I mean, obviously we do have a very good stake in the research part. We have a okayish good stake in the development part, especially in our great enterprises. But there seems to be a certain issue in this phase, and therefore the government is also very interested in finding solutions to support those later readiness levels and to come up with more support for the businesses and to improve the adoption and the AI building part in Germany and Europe. So what comes next? We want to support businesses to use, adopt, and create AI. And that's a different viewpoint from many years that we had before, where we solely looked at the research part of it, which turned out to work fine. And now it's not, of course, we don't stop invest in research, still very important. We need to have certain, we have challenges in AI that we definitely need to tackle. For example, energy consumption is something where we need to have research on, but also in more and higher quality artificial intelligence and trustworthy artificial intelligence. But additional to that, the support for businesses to use, adopt, and create AI is one of the main pillars and goals. So we want to strengthen the transfer by joint research, basically, between industry and research departments, and the startup support. And one additional very important aspect of that, often overlooked, but very crucial, is the regional AI services and talent offering. So if you have a business in a certain region and you need support, then you need people. Yeah? So it's not only about someone coming to your company and just tell you like 5 minutes what comes next and what would be a good idea, but it's also to deliver and offer those people that can work with you on the topic. What we have done is already we built the AI service centers. The goal of the service centers is to support small and medium companies to get access to compute, AI compute, GPUs, and additional things, inferencing offerings, and AI expertise. There are 4 different service centers in a geographical distribution among Germany. So we can see they provide services for every business that is interested and has questions in artificial intelligence, but they also act as a regional ecosystem for talent. They are often very close to universities and research, but they do this. They offer this outlet that you can, as a SME, contact them, and they can support you. Another thing that is currently undergoing is the AI factories by EuroHPC. Many may have heard about that. It's a big initiative of the EU Commission to build new supercomputing centers in Europe. The goal is that they enforce dynamic ecosystems around those new machines. They are all AI optimized supercomputers. They offer data capabilities and programming and training facilities, and also human capital. So if you need people, then most probably you may find some there. So we do have in Germany already, we've built up 2 of those AI factories. They are financed by Eurovision, by the EuroHPC, and by the public government. And we have the Hammerhai in Stuttgart, that's the first one. They focus on engineering, science, and global challenges in industrial HPC. And we do have a second one, the one in Jülich. It's an additional one to the supercomputer that is built there, and they offer training and inference of basic models for science, business, and society, and they have this experimental platform for inference, which is like the USP of that machine. And this is not the end of it, because many of you may have also heard about that. There's more to come, and this is the AI Gigafactory initiative. So this is part of the new Commission's AI Content and Action Plan to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. And we are, of course, as a federal government, also part of that initiative. And the objective here is to develop and provide AI models and AI applications of a completely new scale, which means there are, in the planning, we have up to 5 gigafactories in Europe with approximately 100,000 GPUs, which is huge. It's 4 times the size of the Jupiter exascale computer. And we want, of course, to have one of those gigafactories here in Germany. So we are currently in conversations with everybody who's interested in that goal as well. And if you feel like you would like to get in conversation with us about that, please contact me, talk to me. Now is the time to actually think about the next steps here. Additionally to that big machine, there are 200 billion euros to boost AI development. So this is more about projects and programs that are done on a site to that the machine is used, and also to come up with more usage and adoption here. Yeah, and what is actually the main difference between the gigafactories and the AI factories that I've shown in the earlier slide is that the gigafactory is dedicated to businesses. So it's an industrial machine, and there is research also available, computing power available for research, but it's second priority. So first priority is really to have a big machine and this offering of services dedicated to enterprises and businesses. So if you feel like this is something that you need, just let me know. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. First of all, I have to apologize because I actually knew the new name, because I worked last week with Rabea Rogge, our first female space pilot, so to say, our astronaut. As someone who comes from research and technologies, I'm not really happy that education is not part of your ministry
anymore. Well, it's about the talents.
Well, what to do?
Yeah.
But space, that's amazing. Moonshots. Do we have questions from the audience? Yes, please. Can I have the microphone here in the third row?
Hi, I wanted to ask if you already know where this gigafactory is going to be located at, and also if you're considering decentralized alternatives, like to spread the compute across the infrastructure, because latency might be an issue for robotics.
Yeah, so that's the most the hardest question that you could ask. I think. No, I don't have the final location because it's not yet decided on. And I also want to emphasize that the final location is not something that the ministry decides on, but decides about. But it's something that mostly is in a decision of the lead industries that will later then build up the gigafactory. So there's a lot of support, as you can imagine. Many different lenders are actually really interested in getting the gigafactory, and that's great to see. But how this race in the end will turn out, we can't say now. Yeah.
First question here, Johann.
I got
Second.
It's again, for those who haven't been here, Johann Strauss, Chief Technology Officer of Dell. Regarding the 12 or 13 JU sites before the gigafactories, there's one good news for you, which I didn't see on your slide. 50% of that capacity has to be brought to the public. So yes, research first. So their priority is research, but 50% of the capacity of Hammerhai and Jülich has to go to Germany, to SMBs, enterprise, and startups. Just a side comment.
Thanks.
And this is also a second side comment on the federation of these technologies. All these sites across the European Union have to be able to federate the compute and the data. So that means petabytes of data that are sitting in Finland you could tap into and use over here if you have a data contract. We can discuss that later. But that's the thought process we're going through, and we've been sitting about 4 months ago with the JU sitting like, what is the platform you need to build rather than just acceleration technology, which, by the way, there is over a dozen accelerating technologies. It's not only NVIDIA GPUs, but another time for that one. There was somebody else.
Yes, here, can you hand over here to Frederick, I think.
Yes, thanks. Having great what you are doing till here and what you are trying to achieve at the next months. I mean, for all of us, we are very happy to have now digital at least maybe be a bit more coordinated. Having worked up until 7 months ago in the Federal Chancellery as a CDO, I've seen also what great work you did in the BMBF back then. And for me, that's one of the biggest tasks I think right now is AI will still be split between the ministries. That's something that I'm really thinking a lot around. And also like the switch in the last moment from AG3 to the other AG with the gigafactory stuff when the sentence was moved and stuff. How do you think we can better coordinate that? I mean, the AI Act was a classic example of how we totally failed, to be honest, to coordinate ourselves good. That was not on your side from my point of view, but maybe that's for later. But I would really emphasize this should be something that we all have to work up on now in the ecosystem, that AI really gets a strong voice from German politics.
Definitely. So I totally agree to your point. Yeah, thanks for taking the time to highlight that again. Yeah, so because it's crucial. Yeah, I agree. And yeah, as well. Yeah, and I think what we need to do is definitely to double check what are the concrete tasks that we have regarding artificial intelligence in what ministry, right? Because I think basically artificial intelligence is, of course, it's a very broad technology. So it's somehow obvious that it occurs at many different places. Yeah? But what we can do is, of course, that we double check what is the exact duty and the exact task at hand. And I think there is a difference between getting the public administration being more digital and also using artificial intelligence for that, between this task and the task of enabling Germany to become even more innovative in AI, to bring up the new ideas and to also bring up new startups and new businesses here. So I think those are different tasks, and although they can say, well, we have to do some departments somewhere, yeah, it can't be all in one, unfortunately. So, but if we have the chance to really make that very clear, then I think we can have very good support for artificial intelligence throughout these different duties. Yeah.
Thank you. You see that we already are at 1 p.m., but I have 3 more questions in the audience. Is that okay for you? Are too hungry?
Yeah.
So whoever is too hungry, I think it's too interesting. As long as we're not getting hangry. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Each of these data centers will consume at least 300 megawatts of energy. And you are competing with the electrification of cars and other things. We don't have the energy, we don't have the transmission grid, and we don't have the cooling water, especially if you see the drought. And this entire thing will produce within 5 years, when the NVIDIA graphic cards are completely outdated, an AI waste of whatever, a factor of 1,000 compared to what data centers produce at the moment. How do you deal with the environmental constraint on that? Is this part of a concept, or is it just ignored for?
No, it's definitely part of the concept. As I already said, so energy efficiency is one of the biggest things that we still have to look at, and also find more and better solutions. But already now there is a big and huge part of the different ideas, and also it's a condition of being successful in these applications that you have a very concrete ideas about your energy consumption. And if you compare it, for example, with the Jupyter exascale computer that is now built in Jülich, it has already now a very, very good consumption rate compared with other computers that are even a lot smaller. Yeah? Because also the energy efficiency technology evolves all the time, and everything that can be done is definitely be done at the moment it comes into serialization and commercialization. So which means that the new exascale chip that is now enabled there is actually one of the 10 most power energy saving chips that you can have worldwide. So there's a lot done there. Of course, always in the boundaries of what is available now.
Yeah, thank you. You have a question, please.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
I'm Bianca Heinisch. I'm from Bavaria, Garmisch-Partenkirchen. My question is not in the data center direction, but more in the research and education direction. I'm in the management board for the geriatronics project in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. It's a research project where robotics should support older people, so for elderly care, together with the Technical University of Munich and Caritas as well. And we as in this management board and generally we are really getting confronted every day to convince actually normal people like my grandma what does the robotics are doing with these people and how. So we are trying to find programs and initiatives to help these people understand that they can actually also trust the technology and that this technology is also controlled by humans. And my question is actually, I talked also with Markus Blume about that, and my question goes more into the what initiatives do we have, not only in Bavaria, but maybe also in Germany, that helps the people to understand what is AI, general AI programs, things like that, to really democratize it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. That's a very good, sounds like a very good initiative and also very good question, of course. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but in the Stanford AI report that came out this year, compared to last year, our acceptance of AI in Germany has increased by 10%.
That's a lot.
It was really low.
Yeah, according to your presentation last year, it was very low.
But so it increased, so there is a more and more acceptance of that technology, and I think also people now more and more look at the chances that we have with it. And exactly what you just described, I think, is one of the biggest chances that we have, and it's one big chance as well from my perspective for Germany especially, because we do have this big and industrial strengths in robotics. And if you combine that together, I think this is really like it's a big, could be a big benefit for us. And there are certain, more educational programs that we have. We have some from the federal ministry as well, but there are many on the Länder as well. So we have the KI Campus website, for example. It has been online for quite a while already, where you can have different coachings and things, and there are more and more courses available. And I think that's also one of the reasons why this acceptance increase has happened in the last year. So yes, so there are things available, but I totally agree there's more to do, because if you compare it with China or the attitude that other Asian countries, for example, have towards artificial intelligence, there's still a big gap. And I think with all the risk management that we do, and I think that we do it, of course, for good reason, yeah? So definitely we need to do the regulation conversations, and we need to double check every risk that may evolve of that. But still, we need to also focus on the chances. And that's something that, from my perspective and from the numbers as well, has significantly changed from the last year as well.
Thank you.
So there's improvement, but there's also room for improvement.
Definitely. Yeah.
Last question.
Thank you. My name is Wolfgang Stieler. I'm from the German edition of Technology Review magazine. And I don't want to be the party crasher here. And I really like to see that we will get these AI factories. But my question is, isn't that a little bit late? I mean, it was no secret that there was a revolution in deep learning. It was no secret that companies like Google built the transformer architecture. And we had a year-long discussion about more compute here in Germany and more compute in Europe. And it was delayed and delayed and delayed. And my question is, if you agree that this build-up of compute infrastructure is a little bit late, what can we learn from it? And how can we avoid that latency in the future? Especially looking at elsewhere, countries like China, which is building up a massive open source infrastructure besides that build-up of compute.
Yeah, so I would love to have the final answer to that. I agree, yeah, so we haven't been the fastest in the game. Maybe what's interesting about that, sometimes it's possible not to be the fastest, but still succeed. If we check with the situation with cars, for example, it wasn't the Germans that came up with the cars first. It was more something from UK, for example, right? But we still managed. And I think, yes, you're right, we weren't the first, but still there's no option for not getting into the race now. Yeah, so it's just not an option. We need to do that, because if you double check on what comes next, new technologies, right, like quantum computing, for example, or neuromorphic chips, or more technologies that we do have in the pipeline worldwide now. And who's active in that technologies? Research is, of course, but it's not only research, it's also the big digital businesses from the US. And they know how to build those things, and they may be fast with that too. So, and we are lagging behind because we didn't do the first step. And therefore, from my point of view, there's no alternative to not just not come up with that business and artificial intelligence ecosystem here.
Yeah, best time was yesterday. Now is also a good time. Yeah.
Nicely put. Smarter.
Well, we learn from our mistakes from the past, and
Yes.
now have ministries for digitalization und Staatsmodernisierung, and the Ministry for Research, Technology and Space. And with that, thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Tina Klüwer. Applause.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
We now eat lunch. I see you at 13:45, 1:45, so a bit more than half an hour. And please come back, because then we talk about entrepreneurs, we talk about diversity, and we talk about my favorite bird. If someone is interested, we talk about penguins.